when I was 16, I sang All Things Bright and Beautiful in church. And that was the very first time I sang in public. And then when I left school, I knew that all I wanted to do was sing, you know, but I had no qualifications because I was useless in school. So on the Friday I left school, I was determined to get a job by Monday, you know, and start work. So after school, I went around all the shops in the village where I was from, you know, Skewen, and I went around all the shops and asked, did they have a vacancy for a shop assistant? So by Monday, I was working in a shop. So I had money then to buy, you know, makeup, clothes, or whatever, even though the wage was absolutely terrible. I think it was about £4 a week or something. Anyway, I know you can't believe that, can you, being so young? But that was in the late 60s. I think it was about, let me think now, 65, something like that. Because, well, the next time I started singing was obviously in my bedroom with a hairbrush, you know. And my father used to tape the top of the pops every Sunday for me on a reel-to-reel tape, 2-track tape. You don't even know what they are, I'm sure. Anyway,
I'm a nerd, so I know.
It was such a long time ago. But that was, so I used to listen to all the songs, and the ones that I really liked, I'd write the words down too, and I'd be singing into a mirror with a hairbrush, you know, in my bedroom. And my auntie's husband was working in the local rugby club on the committee, you know. And she said, we're having a talent competition. She said, you're always singing and you're so good. She said, why don't I put you down for the talent competition? So she put me down for the talent competition. I was really nervous because I'd never sang on a mic in my life, you know. Even in church, I didn't have a mic, you know. And so she put me down for the talent competition and I came second. So I was really, that gave me confidence because that night there was a local agent there, you know, looking for a talent to sign up, you know. And he wanted to sign me up, and I said, I haven't got any repertoire, you know, things like that. Anyway, as luck had it, about a week or two after that, I was 17 then, right? A week or two after that, there was an advertisement in the local newspaper, in the Evening Post, asking for 3 girls to join Bobby Wayne. And Bobby Wayne and the Dixies. I was one of the Dixies, and I went to the audition. There was 35 girls there. They were looking for 3, and I was one of the 3. So I had a great grounding for the first year and a half with them, doing harmonies and everything, you know, and then doing some lead vocals and harmonies to Bobby, you know. And then I formed my own band after that, Imagination. We went on to a TV talent show called New Faces in them days. We came 4th. So, you know, never give up, keep going. And I was singing with the band for about 7 years before I got discovered. Talent scout Roger Bell came down from London. He was working for a team of songwriters, and they were looking for a girl. Well, actually, they were looking for a boy, and he came in the club, and instead of coming in on the floor where he was singing, that's the 2nd floor, I was with my band downstairs singing, and he came in on that floor by mistake, and he heard me singing, so he went back to London and he told them about me. So then I was invited to London to do an audition sort of thing, you know, to try some demos of their songs, one of which was Lost in France, which became my first hit record in 1976.
Did you think that was going to be a hit when you were recording? Or I mean, at that stage, I guess you were still, you know, you hadn't got your record contract yet, so you were...
No, I didn't have a record contract. And then I did the demo, right? And 2 years later, I thought, oh, because I didn't hear anything, And 2 years later, in 1976, because I did it in 1974. And
2 years later?
Yeah, 2 years later, they said, oh, we got a record deal for you on RCA Records. And I said, oh my God, this is fantastic. Elvis Presley was on RCA, Yeah. And I didn't think the song would be a hit, Lost in France, because in them days, I used to sing rock more than anything, but I used to do all kinds of music. In the club where I was, I'm doing all the clubs all around Wales, you had to do all kinds of music, And so I used to sing country, rock, blues, and on a Sunday night, we used to do old-time dancing. I never used to dance, but I used to sing bossa novas, quick steps, waltzes, and things like that, And so I could adapt to anything, But some of my favorite music was like Chaka Khan, with Rufus and Thin Lizzy and things like that, really, a hell of a taste of music. Yeah.
And you've ended up doing, singing things in kind of all of these genres eventually. But I guess at the start, when you made your first record, it had to be a certain way. You had to start with a certain.
Yeah, and it was a very tender, soft song, Yeah. For me, that is, a bit of a challenge to. Because, well, actually, in them days, my voice was more soft than it is now, because after I recorded that song, I had a throat problem. I developed nodules on my vocal cords. So I had to have them removed. I'd already had them 3 times in my career, but they went away with rest before, But this time, they just didn't go away, And so I had to have them taken off. But it left me more husky than I was already,
Yeah, I think it made,
it was great.
Very lucky. It's made a very iconic voice. So was that why like, what year was that where you had that operation?
That was 1977 or 78. 77, I think I had the operation. And you're not supposed to talk after the operation, but I'm terrible. I'm a chatterbox, And so I couldn't stop talking. You're supposed to write everything down, And I never forget, I was taking my mother to a hospital to visit my brother because he had injured his knee in work. So I'm driving my mother now to the hospital to visit my brother, Lynn. And I suddenly think to myself, I wonder if Mummy has remembered the strawberries and cream now in the fridge. And I can't just say, hey, Mum, did you remember I got to pull into a lay-by, get the pen and the paper. And I said, Mum, have you got the strawberries and the cream, whatever? Oh, she said, I forgot. I said, oh, Mum! So anyway, we had to go back home and get them. But, I was like, I couldn't, after that, I was like talking all the time. But it made me slightly more husky than I already was. I went back to the surgeon, and he said, well, you've really gone and done it now. Because, I would have been able to sing in 6 weeks or something, but it took me 6 months. But when I went into the studio and they had written "It's a Heartache," I went, "It's a heart," "It's a heartache," and it just they said, "Wow, your voice has changed, but we like it."
Yeah, it did make it even better. And
well, it was my first hit record in America, and
Was that a surprise? Were they aiming to make it a big hit in America?
Of course they wanted it to be a hit, and they went to America and played this song before I was, of course, before we had the hit there. They played them the song, right? And they said, she'll never make it in America, but we love the song. can we give it to Juice Newton, she was a very big country star, you know? Yeah. And they said, no, you know, this song is a hit the way that it is. And they said, well, if you agree or not, you know, as soon as Bonnie releases this song, they're allowed to release it with who they want, you know? So that's what they did. They released Juice Newton's song on the day that I had released the song. And have a guess what? Juice Newton was never played and I was. Sorry, Juice Newton. But, you know, it was for me originally anyway, you know. And yeah, I went to number 3, I think it was, in America, and it got nominated for a Grammy.
So that must have been a huge, like, it felt like a huge step forward.
Oh, it was amazing. And next thing, I'm on tour in America with Tom Jones, you know. I'm supporting Tom Jones in Los Angeles, in the Greek Theatre in Los Angeles. And I was doing shows of my own over there. It was, you know, it was a complete big turnaround in my career, you know, lost in front. It's a heartache, you know. And so it was amazing. But oh, it was so fabulous to see Tom Jones live, you know. I was on the wings watching him from the side of the stage, you know, and he was just awesome. He was amazing, you know. Yeah?
Another huge voice, of course. Both of you have.
Oh, you had a huge voice. He still has?
Yeah.
Yeah, huge voice.
And when, so all those years, you know, you were gigging for 7 years with your band before you got your record contract. And
yeah,
you were very determined, you know, always doing a lot of talent contests and things like that. Was it difficult to persevere through all of those challenges? And was there ever a stage where you thought, maybe music's not for me? Or did you just love it so much that you kept going?
No, I loved it. I mean, it was hellish hard work, mind, you know. You're touring, you're up at like sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, and when I was working with Tom in America, right, I was working my album then at the same time, so I had to get up like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was having breakfast with people in you know, the song that the Eagles wrote about.
Hotel California.
Yeah, Hotel California, yeah. We were staying there, right? And I'd be getting up for breakfast to start my interviews. We'd be having breakfast with different interviews every half an hour, you know? Yeah. And then I'd be going to different radio stations all day, talking all the time. And then I'd have like maybe half an hour or an hour at the most to get ready for the show before I went on before Tom, you know, not that he needed any support at all, but I was on and I was very grateful for that, you know. But it was so busy, you know, you didn't have time to do anything other than just work. You didn't, you know, you couldn't really enjoy it at that time because you were working too hard all the time. But it was amazing, you know, it was just incredible. And then to go on the David Frost show in America, and I met Muhammad Ali. He was a guest on the show, and have a guess what? He asked me for my autograph. Oh, his autograph. So I had the nerve then to ask him, because my father was a huge fan of Muhammad Ali, you know. Yeah. And so I got actually, I met him twice over the years, and I got his autograph twice, and the original one, you know.
Wow. And that sounds like, so that must have just been so exciting. And that was even before, you know, your biggest hit.
An Eclipse, yeah. I was with RCA Records for 5 years. And when my contract was up, they wanted to renew it for another 5 years. But I decided, when I saw Meatloaf on the Old Grey Whistle test, I thought, oh my God, this music is amazing, you know. And I wasn't really enjoying myself singing the sort of country rock anymore. And I just thought, I got to try and go more the way that I really felt, more rock, you know. I've got to try it, and if it don't work out, I'll just go back to the local clubs and things, you know. But I was offered a deal by CBS, so I was really lucky, you know. CBS was Sony then. So, no, it was CBS then, and then it was Sony, you know. And when I went to the record, you know, company, when I went to the record company, I spoke to the A&R guy, you know, Matt Winwood, who was Stevie Winwood's brother. And he said, right, Bonnie, you know, we'd like to sign you for 5 years, you know. Tell me, which direction would you like to go in? And I said, I want to work with whoever writes for Meatloaf and whoever produces for him. And my manager at the time, David Aston, he said, well, that's Jim Steinman. Yeah. And my friend was going, Bonnie, you know, come on, Jim Steinman. I said, yeah, so? And he said, he's never going to do it. I said, how do you know? You got to ask him first. Ask him, and then see what happens. So he said, oh, all right, but don't hold your breath, you know. So they did ask Jim, and we didn't hear anything for about 3 weeks. And then he got in touch to say he'd like to meet me in New York. Would I go over and meet him? So we went over, my manager and myself, we went over to New York, and we went to Jim's apartment overlooking Central Park. It was awesome, you know, just right. Awesome. But that was a story in its own right, that, because when we turned up, I mean, at that time, E.T. was in the theatre, in the cinema, right? Yes. And, you know, E.T., with all the M&M sweets, when we got out to the lift, after we passed all the security downstairs, when we got onto Jim's floor and opened the door, the lift door was opened, there's this trail of M&M sweets, you know, going right towards Jim's door. And then his door, like, had a round window in it that you couldn't see through, obviously, but it had a ledge. And on the ledge, there was more M&M sweets. And it was like, wow, this is really weird, you know. And then we rang the bell, and he came with all this hair, black hair he had then, you know, and all down here and flowing, you know. And coming in, look. So we went in, and he played me songs that he thought would be suitable for me. And we got on really well, you know. And in the end, he played me, have you ever seen The Rain by
Credence?
Eh?
The original Credence, right?
Yes, Credence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah,
it just went off my head, out of my head a minute. So anyway, he played me that, and he said, Bonnie, do you like this song? Because I think we could do a really different version of it. I said, I love this song, you know. And from there on, we got on so well and whatever. But anyway, about 3 weeks, I think it was, later, we went back to New York. We were invited back because he had finished writing a song that he had started writing years ago for Meatloaf. But Meatloaf had lost his voice then or whatever, and so Jim had never finished it. But he finished it. After we met, he finished the song, and he offered it to me. I couldn't believe it, you know. He played it just on the piano, and Rory Dodd, who sings the turnarounds, you know, he reads music. I don't read music. And he sang it off the music that Jim had written, you know, and all the lyrics. And for me to hear it just by the piano, he was playing the piano like Wagner, you And we were like, we've just given the lyrics, me and my manager at the time, given the lyrics to read through as Rory was singing it. And it was like, my God, we had tears coming down our face, you know, because it was such a wonderful song. And he was offering it to me, you know. And anyway, we did it. And I recorded that song live with the Bruce Springsteen band, you know.
Oh, right.
Max Weinberg was on the drums. My head's gone. It's just locked down.
Steve was he in the back on guitar? Steve Van Zandt?
It was, no, we had Roy Bitton on keyboards, incredible keyboard player. Max Weinberg on the drums. We had Meatloaf's bass player, Steve Buslow. And I can't think now. But what we did, the way Jim works, we do 9 different takes of the song, one after each other, you know. And then Jim takes the reel-to-reel home. In them days, you know, it's all digital now, but took the reel-to-reel home and gave me a cassette of it, of the 9 different takes, to see which had the best feel, to see which one we should build up on, you know. So I was staying in the Warwick Hotel in them days, and I was listening to each take. Next day, when we go back into the studio, Jim had picked the same one as I picked. I think it was the second take. And that's the one that he built on then, you know, everything, just about the kitchen sink. But it turned out to be an incredible hit record. Yeah. It was #1 for 4 weeks in America, I think, and 3 weeks in the UK.
But it's just been one of the biggest selling records ever.
And it still is, isn't it, you know?
Yeah. Do you ever get tired of it? Do you ever get tired of it? Do you ever get tired of it being so closely associated with, you know, like how it's such a famous song. It's like one of the most famous songs of all time. It's like,
I never get fed up with it.
That's really good to hear. That's really good.
Honestly, I never get tired of singing it, you know?
So many
and of course, the audience love it, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, everybody loves To Hold Eclipse of the Heart, you know? And I never get tired of singing it. And it's just a monster hit, you know, evergreen.
Yeah, it really is. And it's really nice to hear you say that you never get tired of it. And that
Heroes.
Oh yeah, so Holding Out for Hero, like that because the production there is like so, I don't know, it's so cool, and like it's so 80s. And
he co-wrote it with Dean Pritchford, who was writing for the film Footloose, you know, and it was #2 for 6 weeks in the UK because David Bowie and Mick Jagger, they were #1 for 6 weeks with the charity song for Dancing in the Street, it was called, remember? No, you probably wouldn't remember, but...
I've seen the video, it's quite funny, but I have to say I prefer Holding Out for a Hero. I think that's age.
I gotta have another sip of this. It's okay?
Of course, of course.
Right.
But yeah, that song is just, I mean, all of those 80s hits are, you know, timeless, and it's really nice.
Oh, the 80s was a great time, yeah. It was really, really such a good time, yeah. And but the people still love that song, you know. I use it before I come back on for my encore, you know. And they go crazy, they just love it. And I was taken to the Paramount Film Studio, I think it was Paramount Film Studio, where they recorded the film Footloose, to their private cinema, where they played me the rushes of the film, you know. You know, like you see sometimes in films, a very small studio where the producers and the editors are just looking at the film, and
yeah.
They took me there and they played me the rushes of the film, and to see the part of the film that it was going to be in, that Kevin Bacon was on the chicken run, you know, and he gets sneakers caught in the accelerator, and he couldn't, you know, get it off, and that's why he won the race. But to see the build up for it, you know, to know how much energy to put in it, so that was fun.
It's just a completely, just really, really brilliant records. But I think some of your recent stuff has been like really, really good as well. And I particularly love the duet that you did with Vince Gill on the Roxy.
Oh yeah, what a lovely guy he is. Yeah, and what a voice, what a voice. But I did my last album was Between Earth and the Stars.
Yeah, there's some brilliant songs on that and duets.
Yeah, and I have 3 duets on there. One with Sir Rod Stewart, one with Sir Cliff Richard, and one with Francis Rossi, MB. And that was a great album to make. And I've finished a new album now. It's called The Best Is Yet to Come. And I finished it before lockdown. And it was due to come out in March, and then all this happened. So I think it's coming out in February next year, and some awesome songs on there, really, you know. And it's produced by David Mackay again, who produced Between the Earth and the Stars. And it's been a joy working with him again, you know. He did my earlier songs, like It's a Heartache and Lost in France, you know. And we work at his studio, at his home, and we just have such a good time doing it, you know. And this, I can't wait for this new album to come out. It should have come out in March, as I said. But I think it's February next year.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. And I mean, are you itching to kind of play gigs and stuff again, or are you?
All my gigs this year were postponed till next year. So if things, you know, if this COVID goes away, hopefully it won't affect next year's all the gigs I was supposed to do, you know.
Yeah,
I was supposed to be
America and stuff as well.
I was in Brazil supposed to be. I had about 6-week tour there. That was put off. I had a long tour in Germany and Scandinavia. That was postponed. Everything was postponed. It's all on my website, bonnietyler.com, you know. So, you know, and if people have bought tickets, they will be, you know, valued. They can use them or something. It's all on the website anyway, which I don't do. As you can tell, the trouble I am getting on this Zoom.
Well, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do this, Bonnie. I just want to ask you one more question, because this is called Greatest Music of All Time. Who are your favourite artists of all time?
Bruce Springsteen's one of them, right? But obviously Tina Turner, she was a huge, and Janis Joplin. They were huge influences for me, you know. And I just, I love their music. I used to play it over and over and over and over, you know. In fact, you know, I still do.
Yeah,
and it's a shame that Tina's retired now, you know. But she did so many great albums, absolutely. But they were my early influences, yeah. And I loved Motown as well years ago, you know.
Their influence on your vocals, Tina Turner,
yes.
Joplin.
It's my voice now is stronger than ever, because I use a voice coach now, James Windsor from London. I phone him up occasionally, you know, even went from here, you know, and keep my voice in trim, you know. But it's definitely made a huge difference to my voice. It's the range is so much better now, you know, and richer.
Do you do like vocal warm-ups and stuff with him?
I never do a show without phoning James, and we have a 15-minute phone call, and no matter where I am, anywhere in the world, you know, I mean, even when I was in Australia and New Zealand, I'd still ring him, and sometimes it'd be in the middle of the night for him, you know, or very early in the mornings, you know. But he's amazing, you know. He's very accommodating, and yeah, I don't do anything not even a rehearsal without phoning James Windsor. He's brilliant.
That's the.
I tell you who told me about him was from Manfred Mann, the lead vocalist. I was doing a big rock show in Germany once when he was on as well, and all different male rock singers were on, you know, and I had a terrible sound check that day because I couldn't hear myself. And I was overcompensating, and so it affected my voice. So he said, give this chap, James Windsor, a ring. He's just incredible, he said. And I took him up on that. He's made a massive difference. Incredible.
Well, yeah, it's yeah, a really crucial thing to do, isn't it? I guess that you've managed to.
I never used to.
Brilliant.
I never used to warm up at all, you know. Maybe that's why I had no juice on my vocal cords. But now it's
thing, then.
Yeah. I am doing a show at the end of the month, but it's a private party in Switzerland, so that it's not many people there, you know, and it's all social distanced, you know. It's in a 5-star hotel in Switzerland because it's a private party, you know. But that'll be the first time that I've sang with my band since March. Luckily, I flew from, I was working last in Sweden, March 14th, and we flew here on March 15th, and I've been here ever since, and it's just incredible, you know, beautiful weather. Yeah.
The right country to choose, for sure. Well, Bonnie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and it's been a real pleasure. So,
oh, thank you, Dylan.